When my husband uncovered the truth the day my secret affair came to light. The day my husband, Liam, uncovered my affair felt like a surreal nightmare, a moment where everything in my life shattered. It's hard to believe I ever let it happen. I never imagined myself as the kind of person who would betray the person I loved. But somewhere along the way, I lost sight of who I was, of who we were together. Liam and I met in college. Our connection was instant, the kind that felt easy, comforting, like coming home. We both had big dreams. He was driven, determined, and incredibly caring. For years, we were inseparable. We built our lives side by side, supporting each other through career changes, financial struggles, and all the challenges of young adulthood. After our wedding, we bought a house together, a place we filled with laughter and shared memories. But as the years went by, I noticed that we began to drift apart. Life became a routine, a series of responsibilities and obligations. We worked long hours, saving for the future we always talked about. Yet, somewhere in the stress of daily life, we stopped connecting like we used to. Our conversations felt shorter, our intimacy faded, and the sparkle that had once been there dimmed. Then I met Evan, my boss. He was charismatic, ambitious, and unapologetically confident. At first, I didn't pay much attention to him, brushing off his flirtations as part of his personality. But over time, our interactions grew. He made me feel noticed, appreciated in a way I hadn't felt in years. We began spending late nights working on projects, sharing stories and laughter. I found myself opening up to him, confiding in him about things I hadn't shared with Liam in ages. One night, after a long work event, Evan and I went out for drinks. I didn't plan for anything to happen. I told myself it was harmless, just two colleagues unwinding. But the lines blurred and we ended up in his apartment. That night marked the beginning of a months-long affair that would change everything. The affair itself was intoxicating. I felt alive, excited, and terrified all at once. Every time we met, I knew it was wrong, but I convinced myself it was something I needed, a way to feel desired, to reclaim something I thought I'd lost. In my mind, I justified it by telling myself that Liam and I were already drifting apart, that it wouldn't change anything in our lives. But secrets have a way of piling up, of making the weight of guilt impossible to ignore. I became distant, evasive, hiding my phone and making excuses for late nights. Liam noticed. He wasn't naive, and he could tell something was different. I could see the concern in his eyes, the way he'd watch me, silently questioning but too hurt or afraid to ask outright. Each time he asked, "Is everything okay?" It felt like a stab to my heart, yet I still couldn't bring myself to end it or tell him the truth. One night, I came home to find him waiting for me in the living room, his face pale and drawn. He had my phone in his hand, and I knew instantly that he had discovered everything. I'll never forget the look in his eyes, hurt, betrayal, a hint of anger, and beneath it all, a deep sadness. "I know," he said quietly, his voice trembling. "I know about you and Evan." There was no escape, no room for lies or denial. I felt a rush of shame, guilt, and fear, knowing that I had just lost everything that mattered. I tried to speak, but my voice caught in my throat. "Why?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "How could you do this to us?" I had no answer that could ease his pain. Every word I tried to say sounded empty, meaningless. All I could do was tell him I was sorry, over and over, though I knew it wouldn't change anything. The following days were a blur. Liam packed a bag and left, staying with a friend while he sorted through his feelings. The silence of our home was deafening, a constant reminder of what I had destroyed. I tried reaching out to him, hoping he'd talk to me, but he was distant. He needed space, time to process the betrayal, and I had no right to ask him for forgiveness. As for Evan, he quickly became distant once he realized the fallout of our affair. The charm that had once drawn me to him felt hollow. In those lonely days after Liam left, I realized how little I actually knew about Evan and how little he truly cared. The fantasy I had created in my mind crumbled, and I was left with the harsh reality of what I had done. Weeks turned into months, and the pain lingered. I started seeing a therapist, hoping to understand why I had made such a devastating choice. I had to confront my own insecurities, my fears, and the ways I had let myself drift from the person I once was. It was a painful process, but one I knew I had to go through to find any sort of healing. Eventually, Liam agreed to meet. We sat across from each other in a quiet cafe, the weight of everything we had been through hanging between us. I told him everything, finally admitting the truths I had kept hidden. I apologized, not expecting forgiveness, but hoping he would understand my regret and my remorse. In the end, Liam decided he couldn't stay in the marriage. The trust we had once shared was shattered, and though he believed I was genuinely sorry, he couldn't move past the betrayal. We filed for divorce, and I watched as the life we had built together dissolved, all because of choices I had made. The years since have been lonely and difficult. I moved to a new city, started fresh, but the regret lingers. I think about Liam often, wondering if he's found happiness, hoping he's healed. I've come to understand that no amount of excitement or escape is worth the price of breaking someone's trust. I'll carry the lessons of that time with me forever, a reminder of the life I lost and the love I let slip away. If you found this story thought-provoking or meaningful, please consider subscribing to my channel